and welcome back to It's a Miracle Beauty. I wanted to do a video I've been seeing multiple YouTubers do that honestly I think is really awesome because everybody has different tastes and different preferences, different skin types. So this top 5, eyeshadow palette or whatever it is, they've been going around. I think a few have done top 10, but I think majority have been top 5. So this video is my top 5 primers. I am a primer lover. I use a primer every single time I do my makeup. I do find some primers don't mix with other foundations as well, but I do wear a primer pretty much 100% of the time, unless it's a tinted moisturizer. That's the only time that I don't. So my top 5, 2 of them are actually really similar. I kind of put a couple honorable mentions in because 2, although from different brands, have pretty identical formulas. So I did put a couple extra honorable mentions in, since those 2 I almost would count as one. So those 2 are, and I have mentioned them before on my channel, the Marc Jacobs Coconut Primer and the Tarte Base Tape. Both of these are very like moisturizing, milky type primers. I don't honestly, and I'm sure this would probably irritate both brands, but I don't honestly see any difference between the 2, but they both work fantastic. So if you have dry skin, these would be something that you'd want to use. I would not recommend these for oily skin, especially with coconut being in both of them, or it can clog the pores and cause acne. So I love these for my super dry skin. Next is a different format. It's one of the few silicone primers that I actually use. This is the Urban Decay Optical Illusion Complexion Primer. So I buy these in the sample size because I keep getting them during a 20% off sale or something like that. So I'm not paying full price for these, much less for a full size. However, if it becomes a better value to buy the big one, I definitely would keep this in my collection, and it would be one that I would repeat buy. I do love the way it feels on my skin. I love the way it smooths out my skin. I don't typically care for silicone primers, but I do love this one. Next one I think is probably no at all surprise to some, purely because this brand I mentioned a lot on my channel, and this is the Mercier Foundation Primer in Radiance. They do make multiple versions of this, and so you are able to choose the one that fits for your skin. I do have desert skin, so I do love this one. The only caveat to this one is I do believe that it doesn't work under every single foundation. This in Lumiere by Laura Mercier is fantastic look. It's very glowy, it's very natural, but if you get even the drop more than you should under their longwear foundation, then it does tend to look cakey by your nose within hours, things like that. So I do have to make sure I go sparingly when I use it with longwear. And that would go the same for the other 2 as well. These 2, when you wear them with any matte or longwear foundation, if you overdo it, you can tell. So the last one on my top 5 is the Becca First Light Priming Filter. Both of Becca's, the other Becca's actually in my honorable mentions. This is the Backlight Priming Filter. So both of these are radiant or glowing type primers. They're very moisturizing. They're very hydrating. I mean, and the difference between these and the Laura Mercier, I have never had these have a problem with application with the foundation. I think these are a little bit lighter formula, still is hydrating, still is moisturizing, and still makes you look as radiant, but they are easier to work with. I did choose the Laura Mercier over these only because my skin, you could probably see I have an eczema attack right now. My skin gets literally so dry, and so when I do wear makeup during eczema, I want to cover everything with a primer that's very thick and very moisturizing, and then I do want a foundation that's going to be similar. So my other honorable mention, one is, I have one for face, but I think it's kind of an old favorite. I don't think I'm the only one that loves this, and that is the Strobe Cream by MAC. This is the no color one. It actually is like a pearl type color. I don't know if that's easy for you to see or not, but it's a luminizing primer, but it again is a cream. It's very thick on my skin. I love that. It doesn't lay thick once you put it on. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's no layer. There's not as much risk for a cakiness, but it is a thick primer, and so it moisturizes and locks in the moisture in my skin, and it just works really well for me. The last primer, this is something I use pretty much every single time I get ready, and that is the Hanalei lip treatment. This one is the one in rose. This does have a reddish tint to it, but this makes my lips so smooth and soft that I typically am good to go for the rest of the day, and I can wear liquid lipstick, I can wear anything I want, and my lips are nice and smooth. So those are my favorites of primers. I don't really have eyeshadow primer base, you know, favorite, because even though I own, let's see how many are in here. This isn't everything. This is just the ones in my studio. And I have Revlon Colorstay, Luscious, Urban Decay, and Lorac. I don't wear these very often. I don't actually know why I own this many, because I rarely wear them. However, I typically use concealer. So when I do my concealer, I do my eye area. I use a little bit of powder to set it, and that's it. The only time I tend to use a primer is if I'm using a red. For example, if I'm using a red or a purple, I do sometimes with blues, but mainly red and purple, because it usually stops it from dyeing my skin. Now, I have never had one last more than a face wash. Maybe the next morning if I'm really thinking hard on this. So I like that when you have that light staining, your eyelids look a little pink. I use it prior to using those colors, so it kind of puts a barrier on my skin. I still do the concealer part, I still do the powder over that primer, but I just feel like that extra layer does protect. I rarely have any staining since I started doing that. So if you like this video and you want to see more, I hope that you will like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. We do typically upload on Thursdays and Sundays. I did miss one recently because I do suffer from lupus and I was having a flare-up, which knocks you on your butt. So I hope that I'll see you again soon, and I hope you have a fantastic day.